Hello, I'm Dylan and I am a part of Denbighshire Youth Council.
Hi, my name's Miri. I come from the Cynghorau area. Dwi'n dod o Gaernarfon. Dwi'n rhan o fforwm llais ni Gwynedd.
Hi, I'm Amisha. I'm 16 years old and I represent the Cyngor Youth Council.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm 12 years old and I represent Cyngor Ieuenctid, which is the Wrexham Youth Parliament.
The first question is, what is a youth council?
I fi, dwi'n meddwl bod, Senedd yr ifanc, maen nhw'n galw fo mewn rhai llefydd, neu fel cyngor, neu da ni'n galw fo'n fforwm, yn rhyw fath o le saff i ni gael trafod a dweud fel beth sy'n bwysig i ni, a be da ni'n meddwl ddylsia bod yn newid yn y dyfodol i ni wella ein bywydau ni yn yr ysgol neu allan yn y gymdeithas. A dwi'n meddwl bod hynna'n rhan bwysig mawr o fforwm iddo fi yn bersonol. Dwi'n gwybod chi.
Yeah, so I think a council is a place where obviously, as was stated, young people can discuss their opinions, and it's a safe space where they are guaranteed to be heard and to be taken seriously. And I think a youth council is also there so that we, as young people, can go to a specific place where we know that things will be impactful, it will have further consequences and further actions taken. And it's also a place where we can speak freely, so we don't have the overarching pressures that we may face when we're speaking to other adults or people in power. We can speak with other young people about what we feel is important to us. And we can speak to like-minded individuals who know what we're going through and who know what we can do to improve, as well as what we're already doing that's really impactful and really beneficial to our environment.
To me, I think it's a place where young people, that they can share their opinions without being judged, and that they can meet people and make connections with people who have the same opinions or ideas.
Ia, yn sicr, I definitely agree with that. Dwi'n meddwl bod o mor bwysig bod ni gyd yn rhannu'n barn ac yn gwneud beth da ni'n gallu bobl ifanc i helpu ni yn y dyfodol. Yn enwedig efo gymaint o bobl ifanc angerddol sydd allan yn y gymuned ac eisiau gwneud rhywbeth efo'u lleisiau nhw. Dwi'n nabod gymaint o pobl dwi wedi cyfarfod yn y fforwm sydd mor hapus i rannu barn ac i helpu pawb. So I think it's just so interesting to see everyone that can help in the community and want and have passion. So I think that's a big part of it, to help in the community and people who want to share their opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I think I completely agree with you there. It's so advantageous and so beneficial that we have that place where we can see young people actually thinking about the future as well, and thinking about what can we do just not for us but for other people, and have that responsibility, especially being in a youth council is so important. But I also want to ask, because we were speaking about this in the morning, what are your views and opinions on having a youth council, being named as a youth council, and if it's possibly off-putting to some young people?
Ma'n senedd, dych chi'n galw fo'n senedd yr ieuenctid. What do you call it? Do you call it youth council? You call it youth council. Da ni'n galw fo, we call it llais ni, or the schools council, or I call it fforwm, most of us call it fforwm. Dwi really hoffi y term fforwm oherwydd dwi'n meddwl bod o'n mae o'n broffesiynol, ond mae dal yn rhoi teimlad bod ni gyd yn mynd i fod yn siarad a bod yn mynd i fod yn drafodaeth agored. It's going to be an open conversation and everyone's going to be quite relaxed. So I quite like how that's portrayed with our name. Obviously, everyone's different. Dwi'n licio'r term llais ni sydd gen ni mynd hefyd, oherwydd dwi'n meddwl bod o'n cyfleu bod ein lleisiau ni ydy'r rhan pwysig o'r fforwm, a bod ein lleisiau ni'n bwysig yna. A dyna ydy'r rhan pwysica. A dwi'n meddwl bod hynna'n beth da iawn. Dwi'n gwybod bod rhai pobl falle'n deud bod o yn rhoi pobl i ffwrdd, oherwydd bod o efallai yn deud bod rhaid iddyn ni ddefnyddio'n lleisiau. Ond dwi'n meddwl na dyna ydy'r rhan pwysig o'n fo, bod ni'n rhannu a bod ni'n gyfforddus yn hynny ac yn helpu ein hyder trwy hynny.
In schools, we have school councils. So we're already familiarised with school councils and councils in general. However, I think that the problem with that is that we then have a subjective view on school councils. So therefore, youth opinions regarding councils will be varied. So I know for some people with youth councils and with school councils, they've had a negative experience where they don't really feel heard or even listened to. And it's been quite disregarded, and their opinions have just been completely disregarded as well and been tossed to the side. So we have those opinions and views, but then I know for my school council, it's very structured and organised, and I actually feel like I'm a part of that voice and the conversation surrounding my school. So there's different varieties of opinions surrounding that. And also with councils, I also do think that it might sound a bit formal, because I know that the actual definition of a council is like a democratically elected body. So it does insinuate that to be part of a youth council, you need to be voted in. But I know that some people might not be able to be voted in, potentially because people don't communicate their feelings as well. But I know that regardless of how bold or how confident you are, I know every single young person has something valuable to give to the table and to give people their experience and to create a deeper and more broad perspective on different issues at hand for young people. So I also agree in that regard.
Dwi'n gwybod ydych chi'n siarad am sut mae o'n off-putting I rhai pobl ifanc, sut enw'r grwpiau yma di'r youth councils. Ydych chi'n meddwl bod o'n ydyn well-known o gwmpas Ogledd Cymru bod fatha oedran beth da ni'n cyfri fel youth? Do you think it's well-known, and do you think it's important that people know what is counted as youth and what ages does it end, so people are able to have the opportunities and choice to join these councils?
I think defining like what youth counts as would be useful, because I think it's under 25 or something like that, maybe. So I think that would be useful, and also I think it could help establish a better understanding, and also sort of could help undo this feeling that the youth are maybe not as important or inferior to adults, and it could show that we can form an opinion and we can make a difference and we can make an impact. I think that's a really important part of it, and defining that would help, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that as well. Like, defining it will change all of the subjective views of people. So we know that there's an objective truth that youth is from under 25. So regardless of your background, who you are, your upbringing, your mental age doesn't define whether you are a youth or not. So say if you're a very mature 12-year-old, that doesn't mean that you're not a youth, just as much as if you're potentially a quite immature 22-year-old, let's say. You're both having a perspective that is surrounding the youth. So I completely agree with that.
Yeah, because I know in my youth parliament that we're starting a volunteering scheme, so anyone over, I think it's 18, can go into the volunteering and help with the leadership in the centres, so as we don't just, as soon as you turn 18, you get kicked out.
That's actually really interesting. And that includes, obviously, maybe someone, because you're older than us,
Yeah.
of course. That would include you more, maybe. Would you like to be more in a, leadership
It's-
role? Or...
Yeah, because obviously I've never done anything like youth council before, and working with Will and everyone, it's been really interesting to see different sides of opinions and council activities and stuff. So I think, although at first I was a bit like, don't know, I've actually really enjoyed that, and it has brought me out of my comfort zone more to be like, no, actually, we've all got opinions and they all matter. So
Dwi eisiau meddwl dod oeddech chi'n deud efo yr enwa. Bydych chi'n meddwl, so os na enw ni di fforwm llais ni, da chi'n meddwl bod yr enw council yn off-putting a bod fforwm llais ni yn well o enw na council ydy o'n fel tynnu pobl i ffwrdd?
I agree with, dwi'n cytuno efo chdi. Dwi'n meddwl bod fforwm yn well gennau. Obviously, dwi di arfer efo fo. Ond mae well gennau o. Achos dwi'n meddwl, ella mae cyngor, you were saying earlier about school council, everyone has different experiences with it. I've had quite a good experience with school council in the past. Ond dwi yma, mae rhai pobl yn ofno, some people are scared of it because of this sometimes there's a stigma with the school council, and people it's only certain type of people that are allowed on it. So dwi'n meddwl bod newid yr enw I fforwm yn ddiddorol, a dwi'n meddwl bod o'n ychwanegu haen arall o ystyr i'r cyngor. So dwi'n meddwl bod o'n neis cael enwa bach gwahanol, a mae'n ddiddorol gweld enwa pobl eraill.
I think they're sort of equal as well, because yes, sometimes you think council, oh, that's a big thing. But I think if you put fun nicknames to it, to be sort of that fun, chilled space. But yeah, I think it's interesting to sort of change the name now and then, because it gives you that creative space of being, let me make up a name and we'll see how that works.
Yeah, because all councils, or whatever you want to call them, are different. So the idea that they all have to have the same name, when it could be more personalised to what the council or the name of it is about.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, actually. There's no rules anywhere saying that all councils have to be called something council, like Conway Council, Denbighshire Council. We can have our actual own name, and it's actually quite fun to put our own spin on it, like you said. So I think having that different name might make us feel a little more included, potentially, because we're all contributing to what that name could be. And it feels definitely, like you said, feels much more inviting, and lets young people know that this isn't going to be something where you have to get it right, otherwise you're out. 3 strikes and you're out. It's definitely not like that. It's somewhere where you can express your opinions freely. So yeah, definitely.
Definitely. And I think, just one more point, going back to the original question that we had of what is a forum or what is a council, whatever. I think one of the biggest parts is that it's really inclusive and that everyone feels included, and that's a big part of it. So maybe having different names can make different people and target different audiences, and especially different types of young people that could be included.
What is your opinion on how young people can actually join Young People Council? Because I find that a lot of people come with referrals, and I think that we should try and get more out there, as referrals are good because it means that people like counsellors, teachers, school, they are aware, so they're referring you, which is good. But we need to know that young people know that we are here, because this podcast here, it tells people how they can join and all about it, but how will they know to click on this if they have no idea what the Young People Council actually is?
You need to have it advertised a lot more, not just to parents or teachers or guardians, but advertise it to those young people who want to join and who have no clue on how to join. So I think if you sort of advertise it a lot more and put it spaces that you think young people will let those people know that, oh, there are other things for us.
Yeah, I agree about that. And I also think that it's quite important thing as well to make sure that it's not just referrals that are getting people into different youth councils. And yeah, I also agree that listening to this is really informative, but if we don't know how we can get to this and how to access this, and if even the existence of this in general, if we don't know about that, then how will we be able to learn about different youth councils? So I think it's also an important role for youth councils to get their advertisement, as you said, out there to places where you might not expect. So obviously we have different things like fairs and leadership summits like we went to before. And in those places, especially in fairs, by putting our voice out there, we can draw people in that potentially don't know how to access information about youth councils. So I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, because if you're only advertising or showing it to the parents, then how do people expect us to have a voice if it's our parents who are signing us up?
Yeah, no, definitely. In Gwynedd, y ffordd da ni'n cael fewn ydy trwy ysgolion, so like our schools for us. Ond mae gennym ni wahanol fforymau mae gennym ni wahanol rai I wahanol bethau. Felly, i'r un dwi yn rhan o, sef yr un ysgolion, mae ysgolion yn rhan pwysig o cael ei fewn i'r fforwm ei hun yn amlwg. Felly, mae hynna yn rhan bwysig ond fo. Mae systema bob man arall yn wahanol iawn, dwi'n meddwl, I ffordd da ni'n neud o'n Ngwynedd. Ond dwi'n gweld o yn ffordd effeithiol iawn o sut da ni'n neud o'n Ngwynedd, oherwydd mae'r disgyblion fysa isio mynegu I barn ac isio rhannu beth gen nhw I ddweud a'r pobl sy'n hyderus I wneud felly, nhw sy'n cael y cyfle cyntaf I rannu. A dwi'n meddwl bod hynna'n bwysig oherwydd mae'n rhoi cyfle i'r disgyblion sydd efo'r angerdd na ac efo'r y motivation I wneud o'n barod yn cael wneud o ac yn cael gwireddu'r mhelliant mas gen nhw. A mae hynna'n gallu arwain y ffordd, it can lead the way to like other students who want to take part as well. So eventually, these students who are leading the way can just help other students be able to feel like, oh yeah, I could do that too.
I think that in the name of the organisation should be council or whatever the name of the local authority is. Firstly, it gives people a good idea of what it is about. So it's the youth version of that thing. So the youth parliament is the youth version of the parliament. So similar how the youth version of council is and it does similar thing to the council, but it does youth representatives. And I think it gives more legitimacy than something say like Conway Youth Forum, which could be firstly could be for anything. Council, like it does what it says more what it's about, and it gives more legitimacy in whoever might hear about this.
I think, as maybe the odd one out here, we have, we call it forum. Dwi'n meddwl bod o yn rhoi cyfle I bobl ifanc sydd ddim fel arfer isio bod mewn cyngor ysgol I fod mewn rhyw fath o gyngor a rhoi enw arall ar efo. Yn amlwg, mae gen ni'n cyfrifoldebau'n hynna'n yn dyletswydda fel rhan o'r fforwm, a maen nhw'n debyg iawn i'r cyngor. Ond dwi yma bod nhw yn dyletswydda gwahanol na beth sydd gan Senedd neu beth sydd gan cyngor. So falle tra bod fi yn deall y pwynt na, dwi'n meddwl bod hwnna yn bwynt da. Mae rhaid diffinio be ydy'n swydd ni, ac falle disgrifio be ydy'r gwahaniaethau rhwng falle Cyngor Gwynedd, fel esiampl, a Cyngor Ysgol. Maen nhw'n dau beth hollol wahanol. Felly dwi'n meddwl, oes, mae yna hynna, ond hefyd mae yna wahaniaethau mawr rhwng gwahanol elfennau a gwahanol diffiniadau ar y gair cyngor neu ar y gair senedd. So, dwi'n meddwl, yndi, mae'n gallu gweithio, ond dwi'n meddwl bod fforwm hefyd yn gallu gweithio. Mae'n dibynnu ar y pobl ifanc da ni'n trio targedu.
Yeah, it's sort of, yeah, again, it's depending on how many people you've got and sort of the age group. But I do think it sort of has its negatives and positives, because yes, it seems very formal and that, then it also means that you will have your voice heard and you'll be able to speak there and know that you're not going to be pushed aside.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think that having the title of a council, as Franag said, does legitimise what it's actually about, what the council is about, and it says exactly what it is. It is a council at the end of the day. But I think the whole reason why there is a discussion about should we change the name to something different is to just remove the stigma around having a council, which obviously puts off a lot of young people from joining that particular council or forum. So as a youth council, do we feel as if we're only heard or actually listened?
Sometimes it can feel like the adult council are just pretending to listen to the youth councils to say that they've listened to them to tick off boxes, though our voices should be able to make an impact and a change.
Yeah, definitely. I think that there is an element of that, especially with it being a new thing, that lots of people just think, oh, we can talk to this youth council, or we can... I think it's happened in the past with school councils as well. Like, oh, we can talk to them, they'll tell us something, but like we don't really need to listen. But I think that including us is really important. And like inclusivity is obviously a massive part of why we're here and everything. Dwi'n meddwl bod o jyst mor bwysig bod ni'n pwysleisio pa mor bwysig ydy rhannu'n llais ni. A dwi jyst meddwl fatha, mae o mor bwysig bod yr oedolion ma yn gwybod bod ni yn serious, fatha bod ni'n golygu beth da ni'n ddeud a bod ni yn chwilio am newid, ac os di ddim yn digwydd, mi fyddwn ni yn mynegu hynna a fydd pobl yn gwybod. Felly dwi'n meddwl bod o'n bwysig iawn bod nhw'n sicrhau bod rhywbeth yn cael ei wneud am ein barn ni, oherwydd wedyn fyddwn ni ddim yn teimlo fel bod ni'n cael yn clywed a ddim yn cael beth da ni'n heiddi.
Yeah, I agree. They sort of listen to you without listening in a way, and I feel like they need to stop what they're doing and sort of watch and really pay attention to what we're doing and what we're saying, because half the time young people have the best opinions and stuff and the most valid points on different groups and stuff.
Da ni'n honest iawn, dydan. We're very honest, I think. And there's a lot less sort of pressure sometimes, definitely.
Yeah, I think as a youth council, it's really hard to be actually taken seriously in comparison to other councils where adults are in charge. And I know for our youth council in the Common Youth Council, we had to try that hard to be actually taken seriously. So we've become involved in different scrutiny meetings, so different meetings about different decisions being taken in Conway. And we just believe that we should have our own voice taken into consideration when they're making decisions about us, for us, but they don't have our voices in those particular meetings. So we sent that many emails, chased up so many other people for different communications and different decisions that they're going to make. And we tried our level best. And that's to only be given that much respect as a youth, to be taken seriously as a youth council. So I think in general, I think for youth councils, it's so hard to be seen as something with authority.
Yeah, because like I think that the adult councils can feel like we're either trying to undermine what they're saying or not take us seriously, and that it needs to be clear that we just want communication for us to be able to get our point across too as an equal.
Hi, my question is, how can you know if the council is just ticking a box to saying, oh yeah, I've spoken with a young person? And how do you know when they're actually listening to you and taking in your recommendation as a consideration?
There should be more like communication between them, so it's not just the one meeting where they get a few opinions and then they just leave. There should be more communication, like more meetings after it to discuss what they've done and decided to do.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing I would like to add is that like the whole setting of our like meetings is so important. For example, in forum, it's really important for us that we like create a safe space so that everyone can talk and be taken seriously. And then in maybe another setting, we wouldn't be able to do that and to share like that. And I think it's just so important that the adults in the room make sure that that atmosphere which everyone feels safe in to share their opinion and to be taken seriously is created. I think that's just so important in order to understand and to make sure that there's a reason for us to carry on, bod 'na gymhelliant I ni fod isio cario ymlaen efo'r holl beth.
Yeah, I agree with like all of those points. I think consistency in communication from the people asking us different questions as a youth council, and definitely what they're prioritising. So are they prioritising how they're looking or what they're doing, or are they prioritising what we've got to say as a youth council? So, yeah.
Now we're going to discuss what the possible benefits of being on a youth council or parliament could be.
I think that this is like one of the biggest like benefits personally for me. Dwi wedi cael fy ysbrydoli lot gan y fforwm. Fel person ifanc sydd efo lot o ddiddordeb mewn gwleidyddiaeth, I have a lot of interest in politics. Nath hynna really ffynnu wrth i fi ddechrau'r fforwm a dysgu falle ystyr democratiaeth ag trobwynt mawr yn ddiddordeb fi and my interest in politics was when we visited or had a meeting in the chamber, yn y siambr yng Nghanarfon. Oedden ni'n cael cyfarfod efo'r pennaeth addysg ar y pryd ac oedd gweld popeth fel fysa fo mewn cyfarfod go iawn. Oedd o mor ddiddorol i fi oherwydd oedd o'n dangos i mi bod pethau yma yn digwydd bob dydd, and the career path that I might want to take in the future maybe was actually in front of me, and it was so possible, and it really gave me an experience and some inspiration for the future, and it really just made me think, oh, maybe I could do that in the future, and maybe that could be something that I would be good at. Something else that really is a big benefit, I think, of the forum is the way I can take part in discussions, like being on panels to select people to work for the council. For example, I was on a panel to choose someone, and it was just so interesting seeing all these different candidates and really feeling heard in the process and feeling like, oh, they value my voice in this whole process of selecting someone. And it really put me in rooms where I felt valued along with adults, and it just put me in interesting rooms with so many interesting people that I read about or I watch on local television. Ac oedd o just mor ddiddorol, a mae'n ffynnu gymaint o ddiddordeb ynddo fi. A mae o just yn ffynnu chwilfrydedd, ac mae'n neud fi mor excited am y dyfodol, ac rhoi diddordeb i fi.
I completely agree, and I also think that it's not just like on your CV that you've been in youth parliament or council. It also helps a lot with confidence and mental health. Like before I joined youth parliament, I would have never thought I'd be like on a podcast or doing like interviews or talking in front of people. But now I think I'm able to, and it's helped a lot with my speaking in front of people.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that as well. I think without having the Youth Council and the Welsh Youth Parliament and different organisations such as that, I wouldn't be able to have the developed skills that I need in everyday life. So obviously, if you're in a youth council, you have multiple opportunities to display your attributes, I'd say, like leadership, communication, teamwork skills, which is so important in everyday life. And to develop these skills will really help you in all of society, wherever you go, to really be heard and to be taken with respect and with a lot of regard. So I really agree with that. And I also agree on the fact that there's so many important and exciting and interesting opportunities that you can get. So I know as well, I went to the actual chamber, the Senedd chamber in Cardiff, which was such an amazing experience. I really agree with you there that it was just so amazing to see the places where people argue and debate about the different decisions being made for us as a nation, as Wales. So it's so important and interesting to see those different little things that may seem insignificant to others, but when you put it into your own views and you see it from your own eyes, really makes a lot of difference.
In terms of these meetings, would you, if you said you wanted to hold them again, would they run the same way they ran today, or would they run differently?
I'll start off by saying I think this has been such an incredible experience to meet all of you and to meet so many new people. So I think we should definitely meet again and maybe share more of our experiences, because just this speaking this morning and now speaking this afternoon, it's been so interesting to see how different councils, forums and whatever, how they work. So I think maybe it would be a really good idea for us to meet every once in a while to see, because obviously I know Gwynedd is so different to your structures and stuff. So maybe it would be interesting to share and come around. I'm not sure, people coming to Gwynedd, people going to Conwy, everything. I don't know. So how often would you want to? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think I agree there. I think maybe we could see, I'd say a minimum of twice a year. That's got to be a minimum though. But yeah, it's really interesting to see different structures of different youth councils and what they want to do in their different areas and their different structures as well, like you said, and what they want to do in the future. And I think if we collaborate in the sense of what we want to do in the future, we can just almost magpie off of other youth councils and see how we can improve ourselves. Also, if we give any feedback, they can also improve themselves. So I think that's really important as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed this as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not only the experience you sort of need to just push that bit, but it's sort of meeting new people that you never thought you would meet before. And then obviously we're all like-minded as well, so that gives it a bit of a boost as well. So
yeah, I think we discussed what a newsletter and everything like that. And I think it would just be so interesting to see how you all work. And for example, we're doing questionnaires at the moment, and you could, you said, steal not steal, but you know what I mean. Like, take each other's ideas, and because there's no point of you making a questionnaire if we've made one already. And like just sharing these ideas, and I think we could just get so much done and improve and do what we need to do even better.
Yeah, definitely. With the questionnaire, we could all fill it out with different youth councils, so it just makes whatever you're doing that much better, which I think is so important.
Yeah, and I think we discussed earlier about having like each time we meet, whether it be twice a year, once a month, be in a different place. Like now it's in Denbighshire, but it could be in Wrexham or Conway next time, to let people see different parts of Wales and be more comfortable.
And I think we definitely would need to discuss between like every different group and how that would look and how it would work. But definitely, I think today's been so interesting and it's given us like an insight of everything. So maybe it would be just a matter of like different things, different activities, getting us talking in different ways.
Yeah, like a different topic, but I think the whole thing of like splitting up into tables so you're not just hanging out with like your group, I think that's a good thing because it'll get people talking to new people and making new connections more.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just been like so nice to see that other people have the same struggles as we do, and to see that it's actually across North Wales, everyone is thinking the same things and we could find better solutions that way.
Now it's time to go, unfortunately, but I want to thank everyone that came. It's been such an amazing opportunity.
Dwi jyst eisiau dweud diolch yn fawr am rando. Dwi'n falch bod fi wedi gallu cyflwyno gysylltu yma yn Gymraeg ac yn Saesneg. A dwi'n gobeithio gawn ni weithio efo'n gilydd yn y dyfodol, oherwydd mae hyn wedi bod yn ddiwrnod mor ddiddorol. A dwi wedi rili mwynhau cyfarfod chi gyd, felly diolch i chi gyd am rando, a diolch i gyd am rhoi eich barn ag rhannu.
Thank you so much, everyone, for letting me speak on this podcast. And thank you, everyone, for sharing so many important and thoughtful opinions. And I hope we can see each other again soon.
I think this has been a wonderful experience for all of us to make new connections and be able to share our opinions. So, yeah, thank you.